and then I'll post it afterwards. So I had a thought that we could talk a bit about Shakespeare today, and I'm going to tell you a bit about what I know. And Josie is a Shakespeare expert because she actually runs a company called Shakespeare Experts. And that is designed to introduce Shakespeare to young people. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my background with Shakespeare. And there we've also got Katie's daughter popping in every now and again, which is very nice. And she's welcome to do that as long as she behaves herself nicely, which she's doing so far. Yeah. So what's Shakespeare about? Shakespeare is all about stories. And actually, that's not what most people think of it as. No. So when I was a kid, I used to think that Shakespeare was just something very, very boring in books with difficult language. And you had to sit down and study it. And you had to have good English. And you also used to have to understand really difficult old-fashioned words. And to be honest, that's what education told me about Shakespeare, because we didn't really have much more excitement going on. Welcome to Yan Zhao, to our meeting. So we now have China, Malaysia, Hong Kong, Hong Kong, Canada, Scotland, and England. So
Toronto, right, Linda? Toronto?
No, I'm actually about 3.5 hours west of Toronto, closer to Detroit, Michigan than I am Toronto.
Oh, really?
Okay, yes, further south. Okay, so great stuff. Okay, so just to say that I used to think Shakespeare was really boring, and even when I ran my own theatre company, I never did any Shakespeare because I thought, oh, Shakespeare's boring. We did that at school. Gradually I started to find out that actually Shakespeare was more about stories, and that it could be fun, it could be really interesting. And I know this sounds really bad coming from an Englishman, because you would think that, you know, we all love Shakespeare, but it's not true. And then I got invited by an organization called the Shakespeare Schools Festival to help them with training teachers. And I said, okay, yeah, of course I'll do that, because I generally say yes to any work that comes along. And I like to see it as a challenge. So immediately I started finding out what I could about Shakespeare. And one of the best things that I did was I found this series online called the Shakespeare Animated Tales.
Yes.
And this was made probably about at least 20 years ago by Channel 4, but you can find them through Google. So for example, if you look up Animated Tales, Romeo and Juliet, you'll find the Romeo and Juliet, and they've got them for Midsummer Night's Dream and other stories too. And they are 20-minute versions of Shakespeare with cartoons, with animation. But some of the actors are really well-known British actors. So there's some lovely voices in the stories. And I quickly learned a lot about Shakespeare by watching these animations. And of course, I started reading the plays. And then I started having to work with this company. And it's a bit like when you get a new job, you know, you pretend that you know a little bit more than you already do to try and fit in. And so that's what I did. And actually, very quickly, I hope they're not watching this, by the way, very quickly, I started to learn much more about Shakespeare, and I shared my own ways of working. And in fact, I came to love Shakespeare through doing this. Okay. So I thought I would share with you some of the approaches that we used when we were training teachers to introduce Shakespeare to their kids.
You froze. Yes.
And this organization, which I mentioned, They work for primary
Oh.
kids and also for
Oh,
secondary
Gav,
kids. Oh, is that Josie talking?
yeah, everybody froze. I thought my connection had gone. It's
Okay,
okay.
we can still see you.
Okay.
So hopefully you can still see us. Okay.
I
So
thought the connection had gone.
let's go on.
You turn it. Can you open the door, Gav?
Could you,
Yeah. Right.
Josie, could you mute yourself for a moment?
Yeah.
Please.
Sorry.
Okay. So I did some training with teachers, and the idea was to show them methods and games for making Shakespeare more fun for kids. I'm going to share with you a couple of ideas that we used, and I've never used them online. So I thought this would be a good challenge to try and work out whether we could do some of this online together. Okay, so let's see. First of all, I'm just going to have a quick look in my notes here. And here we go. What I wanted to do was to do a couple of warm-up games, actually. So this will be fun. Okay. So this is a warm-up game that I often use for making sure that everybody is ready to do some drama. So I'm not sure whether Katie at the moment, whether you're working face-to-face with pupils or whether you are working online. Could you let us know about that? Could you can unmute yourself and tell us what the situation is?
Currently, we already met face to face, but we are also providing the virtual program for those who do not ready yet to come to the center.
Okay, so that sounds quite similar to the situation that most people seem to have at the moment. In the UK, as you may have heard, we have face-to-face teaching at the moment, but how long that will last, we don't know, because the COVID levels have been rising. So what I'm going to do is to explain to you how to play this game face-to-face, but also we're going to try everything online, because obviously we are online. Now, in the chat window, I have put a couple of documents of mine and also one of Josie's. And if you are able to, you could download those documents by clicking on them. And if you want to, you can print them out. You don't need to do that, but we will be reading through them in a little while. So while I'm waffling on, you can be thinking about that. Hello, Linda.
Just to let you know, I think I have Midsummer Night Stream for 6 to 8, but if you posted them in the chat before I was on the call, I can't see them. So would you mind reposting, please?
Yeah, so let me just put them in the chat again.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
No, that's all fine. That's all fine. So
should
got that
5 to 8
So,
actually. No.
Aegeus is being uploaded again, and I'm going to put Joseph in there again, and so you should see 3 different ones now, Linda, or they should be arriving shortly.
I do. Thank you.
Great. Okay. All right then. So first of all, don't worry about those, because we're just going to play a game called Ha. Okay, and that's how it goes. So you get everybody standing in a circle, and I demonstrate by standing up and saying, right, everybody, in a moment, I'm going to make a sound and a movement. And when I make the sound and movement, after I make it, I want you to try and copy it as exactly as you can. All right, so everybody can get ready to do that. And if they want to stand up, if you want to make some space, that'll be really good. Otherwise, you can do it from where you are. Okay, are you ready and watching? Ready to copy? Ha! Okay, great, great, great. Obviously, you're all muted, so I didn't hear your voices. But yeah, you could unmute yourself if you like. I think it will be okay. It'll be a bit noisy, but that's kind of part of the fun of it. All right.
I have to stay muted. I have other adults
Oh,
still in the
yeah,
house
okay.
asleep.
And no, that's fine, Linda. So, okay, so when you do this with the kids, normally they kind of laugh or they're a bit shocked because is quite a sort of scary kind of action. So you get them to do it a few times. You just go, are you ready? Ha! 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 All right, so you just do it a few times and well done, everybody. Now, then you explain, this time when we play it, I don't want you to make the action after I've made it, but at the same time. So you have to try and guess when I'm going to make the action. Now, on Zoom, this is going to be a little bit difficult because we have a delay. But even so, we're going to see what happens. Ah! Ha! 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 Okay, well, that was, you can sit down again. That was interesting because I've worked out that it's virtually impossible to play the second part of that game on Zoom. But you can play the first part, and that's all right. However, when you get to play it live, the whole point of it is it's about body language and expectation. And when you play with people, you start off, the teacher does it, and everybody's looking at you, and usually subconsciously you give off some kind of signal. So you might, blink your eyes or make a movement, and then you make your movement. Okay, so people try and read your body language and try and guess when you're going to make the movement. So after I've done it a couple of times, I then ask different people in the circle to do it, which they normally have fun with. And so you get somebody else to do it, and you try and guess when they're going to make the sound and movement. And of course, you also get funny things happening because people make the sound and movement, but the leader doesn't. So they anticipate it, but it doesn't happen. So then I would say, when Josie made the movement just then, how did you know that she was going to make it? And people will say, well, I saw her blink her eyes, or she made a little movement with her feet, something like that. And if you get different people to do it, the students will notice different things about them, and everybody will give kind of slightly different signals. So that's probably not a one for 3 to 6 year olds.
No.
This is one for older kids and people who are interested in acting, but you could definitely do it with sort of like 9-year-olds and upwards, I would say, maybe even 7, 8-year-olds. And it's a great one to do with adults too. And I know some of us work with adults as well as kids. And also, you can try these games out. So, okay, that's a quick warm-up game that I used in my workshops just to kind of, it gets people really in tune with each other. It breaks the ice because you're doing something a bit scary as well. It builds up the tension because everybody is like frozen, and then someone goes, ha! So it really gets people kind of looking and waiting for something to happen. Another game that we play as a warm-up in these Shakespeare workshops was called Family Portraits. Have you heard of this game? So
yeah,
the way you play it normally is you get people to divide into groups, and then you call out the name of a family, and you explain that they've got 5 seconds to make a family portrait. And in their portrait, there should be, for example, parent figures, children figures, maybe a dog, you know, anything they like that might be a member of a family. And you can, if it's helpful, depending on the culture, you can use the example of Victorian family photos and even show one of them where you have like the father in his top hat, standing next to the mother, and they're all looking very serious, you know. And you can ask them if they have family portraits at home on their mantelpiece, and to think about, you know, what those pictures might be like. But then you explain that we're going to make a family portrait, but it's not just any normal kind of family. It's going to be a differently themed family each time. Now, this works really well in groups. So you might say, right, in 5 seconds, I want you to make an Olympic family. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, freeze. Or you can go click with the camera, with your imaginary camera. And what they've quickly got to do in each group, they've got to get some people being the parents, maybe doing some gymnastics, and maybe somebody else is doing some weights, somebody else might be doing some swimming, and they're all frozen images, all right? So it's like a photo. And then you point out to them that what you're looking for in each picture is different physical levels. So the parents might be higher up, there might be kids low down, there might even be a dog doing some press-ups as part of the Olympic family. So this is really good fun, and you have a look at each group, because normally some of them are funnier than others. So for some examples, you could have, for example, the dinosaur family, okay?
Oh, yes.
Or you could have the very, very sleepy family, you know, and you get them kind of like leaning on each other's shoulders and so on. Now, the challenge is, how on earth could we adapt that for an online setting? Because it's going to be very difficult to have parents and children, because we won't, when you do it in a group, you kind of like negotiate with each other. You see somebody stand up tall, and so you go down low to be a child. So let's just have a dummy run, okay? I'm going to call out the name of a family, and I'm going to give you 5 seconds, and I want you to choose a character in the family, and we'll just see what we get. Maybe we'll get some parents, some children, some dogs. I don't know what we'll get. Okay, so the first one I'm going to do is the alien family, the family from another planet. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Show me your alien family. Ah, very, very good. Yeah, okay, great. All right, well done, everybody. That was really good. Well, do you know what? I think it kind of works, but we just have to really forget about the whether they're parents or kids, because it's virtually impossible to tell. So the way we adapted that for Shakespeare was we chose some characters that you might find from different Shakespeare stories. So, for example, in The Tempest, it's a story which takes place on an island when there has been a shipwreck. So what I'd like you to show me is the shipwrecked family, the family recovering from a crashed ship. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, good, good. Very dramatic and very good frozen pictures there. All right, let's try another one. This time, I must tell you that in a lot of Shakespeare's plays, there are magic spells, and quite often the spells make people fall in love with each other. So let me see the in love family. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, click. Ah, Very sweet indeed. And one more we're going to have. This time, I'll tell you that in Shakespeare's stories, in lots of different ones, he often has magical fairies. Now, these are not like the little Tinkerbell fairies that you might know from Peter Pan. Quite often, these are mischievous, evil spirits who like playing tricks on other people. So could you show me what you think the magical Shakespeare fairy family might look like in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. All right, good. I think we've got some invisible people, some people casting spells, some people hiding behind rocks, and well done. Very good indeed. So playing some games like this can be a good introduction to some of the Shakespeare stories and characters. And if you were doing, you could do this with any play, of course, and also any story. So Katie and Josie, when you work with your kindergarten kids, you know, you could choose a story that you're working on with them. So you could have the Red Riding Hood family, or the Wolf family, or the family of grannies, or the Woodland family, for example. So you could think about, characters in those stories. So any comments on the 2 games that we've played so far? Any thoughts about them? What you liked about them, or how you might want to adapt them for your students? So there was Ha, and there was family portraits. Any thoughts, Jenny?
I think the family portraits one would work really well, yeah, on Zoom as well as in person. I have played it in person, but I hadn't thought of doing it on Zoom. So yeah. Great idea.
Yes, Linda as well. I was going to say something.
Yeah, I agree with Jenny. I like the family portraits, and I was thinking about how we tie it to history for the arts facilitation. And so we could do Canadian pioneer families, Canadian soldier families, the War of 1812 families. So hugely versatile. I really enjoyed that one. And
Yeah.
and in my situation, I'm the only one who's virtual. So the kids are in their classrooms.
Oh, yeah.
So they can do the group work, and I just observe.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. That works when Jan and I do the same sort of thing. Yeah.
Right, good.
I don't know that it would work with my kindergarten kids though. I think they're a bit passive. You know, I've been doing like last Saturday I did 3 Little Pigs, showed them the Walt Disney thing, animation, and they like that. They really need something to see on TV or something like that before they understand what I want them to do. I think it'd be too conceptual, because the youngest class is the first one, and they're 3 to 4, so they're really young, you know. They wouldn't get it. So I have to, and I don't really want to write 3 lesson plans, so I have to do things that work for them as well. So it's got to be incredibly visual, and I have to be able to so I do things like stop, clap, jump, go. They love that.
Yeah.
They absolutely love it. All of them understand that. And maybe the hat would work, but you can't really, the second part, as you say, wouldn't really work.
No, that wouldn't work.
First bit would, the noise would, noise, and actually that I might try it next time. Yeah. But I think the family portraits is too hard for them.
Anybody else want to comment on any of those games, or what you might want to do with your kids? Just a thought from what people have said about working with younger kids. What I would do with that kind of age group, the preschool and the sort of very young, sort of 5, 7s and so on, 5-year-old, say, I would get them to move around the space. So I often use a tambourine, you know, one of those shaky things with bells on, a little drum, and you can clap it as well. And I get them to move around the space and then become different characters or move as different characters. So, you know, for example, based on what we've just done, it could be, I'm going to rattle the tambourine. I'm just thinking, I haven't got one here, but if I had, I could show you it. Oh, hang on. You can use any percussion. So when I rattle this, I want you to move around the space, I would say to them. And when I go like this, I want you to freeze like a statue. Now that usually works with really young kids, because they know the party game about statues, you know, where they have to freeze still, where you play the music and then you stop the music. So you get them to do that, and they're all creeping around. And you can get them to do things like moving through a forest, or moving underwater, or moving on a really cold day, or tiptoeing through the grass, or whatever it might be. Or you could do even actions as well, like climbing a tree, or opening an exciting present, you know. So really, I just get them to do things with all of them at once. I wouldn't bother with group work, because they're not able to negotiate with each other in small groups at that age. And then I would say, okay, freeze. This time, I want you to show me a statue of a fierce wolf in the forest. And with that age group, I would also tend to model it as well. So I would, you know, make a fierce face and show them the sort of thing that they might make. And then I would get them to move as that character. So I'd say, right, now when I shake the tambourine again, I want you to move around, but as a wolf. Off you go. And again, joining in with them. So, you know, I'm sure you know all this, those who work with young kids. But I would just keep it really simple, and get them to explore different characters through movement in that kind of way. Does that make sense, Josie, and others who work with the young kids? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're right, the group work won't work at all, but getting them to do it all together is great. And as I said, they love this, the clap, go, stamp, go. And I often add some other things, other movements. We were doing the 3 little pigs, as I said, and I said, okay, so stop, go, clap, jump. And they can even do the reverse, you know, when you say, okay, so now go is stop and stop is go. They even understood that. So I was quite surprised at that. And then I added go through the chimney. So I do this thing, go through the chimney, and like the wolf goes through the chimney. So they like lovely, that. Yeah.
That's like a really nice idea. So you could, does everybody know stop, go, jump, clap? So I'm going to just explain it a bit more than Josie did, if you don't mind. So the idea is that you explain to them, first of all, this is how I would play it. I would say to them, I'm going to ask you to move around the room. When I say go, I want you to walk around. When I say stop, I want you to freeze still. So you just go, stop, go, stop. And when you stop, I want you to be frozen as still as a statue. Show me your very best statue. And then you explain, right, well done, everybody. You did that really well. We're going to learn the next 2 words in the game, which are jump and clap. So when I say jump, I want you all to jump in the air at the same time. So you get them to do that. Jump, jump. And let's try clap. So everybody clap at the same time. So then once you've taught them the 4 commands, you then mix them up and you get them to go. And they're walking around, stop, jump, clap, you know, and they really like this because it's really easy to catch the kids out and adults as well, everybody. Linda.
As you know, I'm part of a project working on literacy for English language learners in Canada in kindergarten. And I guess I do an adapted version of this. We work on 4 vocabulary words a day, and I've included those vocabulary words into the warm-up. So I might say, okay, everybody stand up. If today's words are in front, behind, over, under, then that's what I'll do. So those 4 words would be substituted for my stop, jump, clap, go. And so that's how they're embodying the language. In front, behind, in front, and see if I can catch them. And so I think that this is a brilliant game, and it can be adapted and used in a variety of language acquisition opportunities.
So what actions would you have, for example, in that game with in front and behind?
They actually go in front of their desks.
Oh, I see.
They go behind their desks. They go on top of their desks. They go underneath their desks. I mean, but I don't do it super fast because of safety, right? Yeah. But, and I don't use those 4 words in combination necessarily. But like I do big and little and tiny and big and tiny. Yeah. So I had never heard of the game, but I guess I've been playing.
Yeah, that's great. So the next part of the game, which you could also do, Linda, if you wanted to, is that you mix up the commands. So if I'm doing this with slightly older kids, I would say, now we're going to play the game again, but this time we're in an alternate universe. Or I would just say, we're going to mix up the commands. So this time, when I say go, I mean stop. When I say stop, I mean go. When I say clap, I mean jump. And when I say jump, I mean clap. And this part really catches the kids out, and they really love it, because you say, okay, do you understand it, everybody? Okay, and go. And of course, you immediately catch out half the group, because they start walking, and you say, oh, no, go means stop, remember? So then they start walking around. You say stop, and they're walking around. And go. And some of them will stop, some will go. Do you see what I mean? Anyway, it's really good fun, and you mix up the commands. But the other, so that's like stage 2 of the game. But one other thing, just based on what we've been talking about today, I think would work really well, is if you had characters or objects from the story that you're working on. So you could have, Wolf, Red Riding Hood, Hunter, Granny, and you could have, they just have to move or make the shape of those different ones. So Wolf, Red Riding Hood, Hunter, Granny, for example, and then you could, that would be really good fun. So you could easily use that with any story. Just in the same way, you could also have objects. So you could have basket for Red Riding Hood as well. That would, I'm going to write that down. Stop, go, jump, clap with story objects. That's a new game for me. Oh, it's an adaptation.
Maybe we should do it. Try it out.
Okay, let's try it. So we're going to have Red Riding Hood game, and we're going to have Wolf. Can everybody do Wolf? Great. And we're going to have Hunter. Okay. And we're going to have Basket. And we're going to have Red Riding Hood. Okay. All right. So let me write these down. So Basket, Red Riding Hood, Wolf.
Oh, I
Go
want to
on.
interject.
Yeah.
I did a great readers theatre on Little Red Riding Hood, which I got from a book called Second Language Learning. And it's a very simple script. I can share it with you after this game, if you like.
Okay, great. Let's try this game because we haven't even done any of the Shakespeare things that I wanted to do.
No.
Yet. So we will do those next. Right. So here we go. Basket. Red Riding Hood. Wolf. Hunter. Red Riding Hood. Wolf. Hunter. Okay, good. You know, the other thing you could do with little kids is to play it like Simon Says and try and trick them. So you could go, Hunter, Red Riding Hood. But they have to do the correct one, but you try and trick them. Wolf. Basket. Okay, so yeah, so you can have fun with that. All right, so great, we've got a new game. Now I'm going to play, it's going to teach you a method really, which is called ghosting. Now this is definitely for older students, and it's also for you. I'm going to use it with a Shakespeare script, but you can use it with any script. And let's just see how we get on. So can you find in the files that I've sent you, one is called Ghosting Tempest, all right? And it looks like that. All right. So has anybody got access to that one? Because I need 2 people who have managed to, who have got this on their computer or have printed
Got it.
out. Jenny's got it and Josie's got it.
I haven't printed it, but I can see it on my computer.
Katie, have you got it?
No, I don't know. I have no links at my chat.
Oh, haven't you? Let me send it again then.
Yeah, I didn't have it either.
Okay, I'm going to send it again.
And I'm teaching this morning, so I'm going to have to leave a few minutes early.
Okay.
I apologize.
You'll be able to watch the end of this video and the bit if you miss any of it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I've sent it again.
Got it.
Now we only need 2 people who've got it. So I know Jenny's got it. Has anybody else got it? So what I'm going to do is to send the actual text in the chat window next, because this hasn't seemed to have worked very well.
I got it.
Who's that? Who said I've got it?
It's Linda. It came
Linda.
up in the chat.
So that's good. Linda and Jenny have got it. Now, Linda and Jenny, you are going to be the ghosts, all right? And your job will be to read out the lines, all right? And Linda, you are Miranda. And Jenny, you are Prospero, okay? Now, this is part of a script from The Tempest, which is a play about a big storm that takes place near a magical island. And I need 2 people who are brave enough to be actors in this scene, not the ghosts. So it's going to be either Josie, Katie, or Yan Zhao. Who's going to volunteer? Put your hand up, or I'll pick you. Josie, I saw your hand go up. And I'm going to ask Yan Zhao if she will do it as well, because she's been with us for a while and Katie is new to the game. Okay. Right. So what we're going to do is everybody, apart from Josie and Yan Zhao, are going to switch off their cameras. So that will be a setting, usually near the bottom where it says stop video. And we should just be left with Yan Zhao and Josie. All right. Now that's perfect. Yan, you are going to be Miranda, And Josie, you are going to be Prospero. Now, ghosts, can you hear me? Can you switch on your microphones?
Yes.
Okay. So, who's reading Miranda?
I am.
Linda?
Linda. Mhm.
Okay, Linda. So Miranda is the first to speak. So, Jan, I want you to be ready to hear what Miranda says. And sorry, it's hard to explain this. Linda,
Yes.
your job is to read the lines a phrase at a time. So, for example, the first part that you might read would be "if by your art," and then you might say "dearest father." Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
Okay. And Jan, your job is to listen to what Linda or Miranda says and just to repeat what she says, all right? As though you are talking to Prospero, who you can see on the screen, all right? Miranda is a teenager of about 14 years old, and Prospero is a wise and slightly sneaky wizard, okay? All right, and then both Miranda and Prospero will have words to say, but of course you can't see them. You're only going to hear them. Okay, off we go. So
do I repeat the words after Jenny?
Yes.
Okay.
Here we go. Linda, off you go.
If
by your art,
dearest father, you have put the wild waters in this roar, allay them.
Okay, now that was really good, Linda, because what I didn't say was that the ghosts should read it out in a very neutral kind of way. So they shouldn't really perform the lines. It's up to the actor to perform them and the ghosts to be as neutral as possible. But you were fairly neutral, but I forgot to tell you that bit. Now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to hear Prospero's reply. Jen is going to read it for Josie to repeat.
Collected.
Be collected.
Miranda. There's no harm done.
There's no harm done.
Carry on.
Oh.
Sorry,
Oh.
I'll shut up now.
Woe the day.
No
Okay.
harm.
No harm.
I have done nothing.
I have done nothing.
But in care of thee. My dear one. Lend thy hand. And pluck my magic. Garment from me. 'Tis time. I should inform. Thee what thou art.
You have often begun to tell me what I am, but stopped, concluding, stay, not yet.
The hours. Now come.
Okay, good. So Jenny, you can read more than 2 words at a time. So, you know, if with that one, for example, you could have just said the hours now come. But otherwise, both of you ghosts, really good. So the idea is in this first stage, the actors just hear the lines without reading them. So ideally, you're not looking at them on the screen. I forgot to say that. And when you play this with students, you just get them to stand up in the space, and the ghosts stand next to them and slightly behind them. And they just say the words quite neutrally. And the two actors look at each other and respond to each other as they can. Now, once you've read it through the first time, you can then ask the audience or the actors if there are any words that they didn't understand. And you can try and get the audience to help with that. And if the audience can't help, then you can, as a teacher, explain what the words might mean. So were there any words that either the ghosts or the actors remember, or the audience, that they didn't quite understand? Or phrases? Can you remember any of them?
No, I know the play, so not fair to ask me.
Okay, so I'm going to give you an example. So there's one example where Prospero says, "Be collected, Miranda." Now, because Josie knows the play, I'm not going to let her answer this, but everybody else, can anybody tell me what they think that might mean? Be collected, Miranda. Any guesses?
Cheer up. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's good.
exactly.
Get your poop in a group, Miranda.
Pardon?
Nothing.
Go on, you can say it.
No, I was going to be like, be collected, Miranda. It's like, get your poop in a group, girl.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really good. Another way you might say it in a more less Canadian and more English way would be pull yourself together. Okay,
Yeah.
that's another expression. Pull yourself, be collected. It's like you're pulling the different parts of you together, or the different parts of your thoughts. Try and make sense. So the second part of the game, which I'm going to move on to swiftly, because I know if Linda has to go, I'll take over her role, by the way. So in the second part, the ghosts again read the lines, but they probably read a bit more of them so that the actors can make sense of them. And the actors, you don't repeat the words this time, but you try and think of a modern language version.
Oh.
So we've just given an example of that with Be Collected, Miranda. So you're just going to try and improvise it and just try and guess what those words might mean if you said them in a modern language. So can we start with Linda from the beginning?
If by your art, dearest father.
That's
That's Miranda, isn't it?
Okay, that's me, right? Okay. If that's your work, my dearest father.
Very good. Carry on, Linda.
You have put the wild waters in this roar.
You've done a really good job.
Allay them.
Just keep it going.
Not quite. No. So allay them actually means stop them.
Oh, stop them.
Yeah, it's like laying them to rest in a way. Okay. Allay them. It's not a word that we really use that much these days, but it means to stop something. So that was really good, Jan.
Yeah.
Well done. And now we're going to go on to Prospero's lines.
Collected, Miranda.
Sorry, say it again.
Be collected, Miranda.
Miranda, pull yourself together.
There's no harm done.
Everything's fine.
Good, good. Let's go on.
Oh, woe the day.
Oh, what a day.
No harm.
Nothing's wrong. Everything's fine.
I have done nothing but in care of thee, my dear one.
Everything I've done is because I love you.
Lend thy hand and pluck my magic garment from me.
help me a minute and take my magic cape from me.
'Tis time I should inform thee what thou art.
This time I really will tell you who you really are.
You have often begun to tell me what I am,
Always try to tell me who I am,
but stopped,
but you didn't.
concluding stay, not yet.
That's tough. Have no idea.
Yeah, so
Somebody-
that's one where we ask the audience. Any guesses? Linda, what do you think it might mean?
You keep putting me off.
Yeah. So stay, not yet. Stay in Shakespeare's time means wait. Okay. So when Prospero has started to say what Miranda is or who she is, he's always stopped and said, wait, I'm not going to tell you yet. Okay. So we've got one more line to come for Prospero.
The hour is now come.
Now's the time.
Excellent. So now then, that was really interesting, and it was quite good that we had words that were difficult, because that's the moment when we get help from the audience to sort them out. Now comes the really hard part for the actors, because they have to try and act out the scene without any ghosts or any script. So they have to try and remember the meaning of the words, and even if they might accidentally miss some of it out, they try and reenact the story. And when you're doing this in the space in a live situation, then you get the actors to really move around, look at each other, respond to each other. Okay, so again, I've never tried this online, so I'm throwing you in at the deep end. It's over to Miranda and Prospero now to try and act out that scene, just remembering the words as they can.
Oh.
So sorry, is it just me and Josie do it, or
Yes, it is. The ghosts are not going to help
Just
you.
you and me.
So Miranda's going to start, and just to give you a clue, Miranda, you're talking about how Prospero has created this big storm and how you want him to stop it.
Oh, my dearest father, you've already done a good job. Just wait, just stay there and just make it as peaceful as possible.
It's okay, Miranda. Everything's fine. Nobody's dead. All right. I've done everything because I love you.
Oh, but still, it's horrible. What a terrible day.
No, nothing happened. It's okay. Everyone is alive.
Now, I'm going to give you a clue. Prospero said something to Miranda about his cloak.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, can you help me take my cloak off, and then I will tell you who you really are.
Really? Are you sure? You always try to tell me who I am, but you never told me.
But this time, I really will.
Okay, now, if we could, we would all be clapping you, because that was really, really good. And what we notice when we use this technique is that the actors are really able to bring the scene alive, because they don't have a piece of paper in front of them.
No, that's right.
So they can use their hands, they can use their faces and their emotions, and they can respond to each other as you both did. And the meaning of the scene really comes through, regardless of how old-fashioned some of the language might be. So there is one more stage to this. And again, Linda, if you've got a dash off, I don't mind taking over from you.
I do. So thank you all again for a lovely session. Have a good month.
Bye, Linda.
Well, thanks,
Bye-bye.
Linda.
Yeah, you're welcome.
See you soon.
Bye-bye. Okay.
So in the last stage, what happens is that the ghosts are going to read the words again. But this time the actors try to recapture the magic of their performance, or the things that, the ways in which it came alive for them, okay, as we just did. So now you know the words a bit more, but you're going to use the Shakespeare language this time. You're going to repeat the words, but hopefully because of the acting that you've just done, it will all come to life quite a lot more. So, if by your art, dearest father, that's for Miranda.
Yeah. Okay, so I will repeat the language, right?
Yeah, repeat the language, but you can think about how what movements you might make this time. If by your art, dearest father, you have put the wild waters in this roar.
If by your art, dearest father, you have put the wide waters in this roar.
Allay them.
Allay them.
Well done.
Be collected, Miranda.
Be collected, Miranda.
There's no harm done.
There's no harm done.
Oh, woe the day.
Oh, woe the day.
No harm. I have done nothing but in care of thee, my dear one.
No harm. I've done nothing but in care of thee, dear one.
Lend thy hand and pluck my magic garment from me.
Lend thy hand and pluck my magic garment from me.
'Tis time I should inform thee what thou art.
'Tis time I should inform thee what thou art.
You have often begun to tell me what I am.
You have often begun to tell me what I am.
But stopped, concluding, stay, not yet.
But stopped, concluding, stay, not yet.
The hour is now come.
The hour has now come.
And we can all switch on our cameras again now and give them a big clap. Well done.
Everybody's frozen again.
Okay, don't worry if it's frozen. I'm sure it will come back in a moment.
Maybe.
So that I'm just going to make some comments on that because our hour is up now, and I know people usually have things to go on to do. But that was fantastic. It's the first time I've done it online, and I think it worked. It works even better if you can do it in a live situation. And the great thing about it is if you've got students who are not very good at reading, but want to act, you can pair them with, you can pair them up with a ghost who is good at reading and maybe doesn't want to act so much, you see? So, and the other thing is it just frees you from having those bits of paper where you're trying to act, but you've got a bit of paper in front of your face the whole time and you're holding on to it for dear life and not really acting.
Yeah.
But what we saw in that stage where the actors were speaking in modern language, you really brought it to life and you were immediately kind of like making gestures and we could see the emotion in your faces. And it's just a really quick way to show, you know, how you can bring a scene to life. So any quick responses or questions about that?
I may use this in my Christmas workshop with secondary kids. They'll love it.
Good. Yeah. So when you do it with your kids, you can have, I usually have like a semicircle of chairs and then the two actors in front and a ghost on each side. Usually 2 is enough because with more than that, it gets a little bit complicated.
Yeah.
But you could also, once you've demonstrated it, you could also divide them into groups and they could all work on different sections of the text, you know, because it would take a long time to get through a text doing it like this. But on the other hand, it's really effective. Jan?
Yes, just one question for this activity, for this game, is it enough for the kids to, or the students to use without any props? Or is it, if it would be better to do it with some props?
I think if you feel the props are necessary for the scene, you know, for example, if two people were having a sword fight, then, you know, that might be quite good. Or if you wanted to give, you know, the wizard a wizard's hat, or something like that, then yeah, that would be fine. Generally, I tend not to have too many props because there's not really a word for it, but something that tends to happen when you give props to students is that the props take over. So, you know, if they've got a sword, then they will wave it around the whole time or stab people with it, you know. Or if they put on a hat, then they'll walk around being silly with a hat on, you know. So I think it just depends. If you've got props that you think are really essential or could add to it, then definitely use them. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so thanks very much, everybody. I'm going to wind up the session now and thank everybody for attending, especially Katie, because she was new today. And we'd love to see you again. Did you find it useful?
Yes, very useful. Actually, for the last activity that you did, we did the similar thing here, because we explore reading read aloud in a different stage. The first stage, we read the book to the children without even referring to the book. It's like a storytelling. And then the second one, we read the book using the book. The third one, we are introducing props, puppets to the children. And then lastly, we are doing similar things like this. It's just that we are calling the play leaders, that's me, the teachers. The teacher read the book, but the children acting according to the stories.
That sounds fantastic. I really like that's a combination of several different drama techniques all in one. Yeah, really good. Is there a name for that particular method?
We are calling this one a story to the bone.
Story to the
to the bone. It's like we got one story books, for example, Three Little Pigs, that we're gonna explore with the children for the whole month. So every week is a different techniques. So like I say, first week we introducing the stories without even referring to the book. So we want the children to activate their listening skill. And then the second week we introduce the books. That's mean doing the traditional read aloud. The third one we are exploring using puppets, using props. And then the fourth week we are inviting the children to act the dramas. But most of the children still not able yet to read. So the play leaders will read to them, then they're acting according to the story.
Could you type into the chat? I couldn't understand whether you were saying story to the book or story to the bone or what you were saying. I couldn't quite get it.
Story to the bone. That means you know the story from the behind of your bone.
Right down to your bones. Is that the idea?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Story to the bone. So it's like you really absorb the story into your body. Oh, fantastic. Okay. All right, then. Thanks very much, everybody. I've learned stuff a lot today as well. And it's really good to see my drama friends. I'm going to have another meeting next week on Wednesday, but we're going to cover some of the same things. And then I'll see you next month.
Yeah,
and
thank
you. I'll put the dates up on the course website. All right.
Yeah, it would be the middle of the night for us though, won't it? 4:30 your time.
Yeah, that one isn't for you really. But we'll be having the Tuesday one at the normal time. Okay then.
Yep.
Bye everybody.
Bye.
Thanks very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.